It can be overwhelming for families navigating a neurodevelopmental diagnosis. Author and neurodiversity advocate Jacalyn Lee knows this firsthand. We want to welcome her now to share her journey into advocacy and the insights and resources that can be found in her Substack, The Atypical Advocate. Glad to have you with us, Jacalyn.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so tell us first, the inspiration for The Atypical Advocate.
Sure. So I first sensed something was different with my youngest daughter when she was just a year old. And when she was 2, she was diagnosed with autism. And thanks to a developmental pediatrician who recommended we see a geneticist, about a year later, she was diagnosed with an ultra rare genetic condition called, this is a lot, Layla, DEF1 associated neurodevelopmental disorders. And the acronym for that is DAND. And, with less than 200 known cases in the world, it explained all the areas of support that she needs, the autism diagnosis, being non-speaking, having ADHD, and more. And so I wanted to turn that grief, right, that journey into action. And so that is why I launched the Atypical Advocate to share resources for others.
That's incredible. That's an incredible journey. And what have you learned in the process, and how has that changed your relationship to neurodiversity and raising your daughter?
That's a great question. What has changed is I believe information is power. I have learned so much through this journey and so many resources, not only for the education system when I'm advocating for my child, but also services that families can access to better help their children, including genetic testing.
Were you curious about your own genetic makeup? Did you do any self-testing by any chance?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So with genetic testing, they actually test myself, my husband, and my daughter. So they tested all of us to really understand the full picture of her genes.
What do you recommend for other families who are going through the same journey? When is a good time to do this genetic testing?
That's a great question. So, the American Academy of Pediatrics now recommends genetic testing for children with global developmental delays, intellectual disabilities, or autism. The updated guidance specifically is that this should be the first test that pediatricians recommend when a child is showing a developmental delay. So, previously, right, what pediatricians would do is they would monitor symptoms for changes or do more narrow tests. And pediatricians should now be recommending broader genetic tests as a first step.
Okay, and is this available pretty much anywhere in the country? And what is the cost associated with these tests?
So the cost of genetic testing ultimately will depend on your insurance coverage. It is available nationwide, but will depend on your insurance coverage when we're talking about access to it. If your child has Medicaid, though, as a secondary insurance because of a disability, Medicaid should also cover genetic testing. However, if those two are not options for your family, there are free resources like Spark from the Simons Foundation, where with Spark, if your child has an autism diagnosis, you just go to their website, fill out an application, and if you qualify, they will just send you a genetic test to complete at home, and you just ship it back. Super easy.
Really interesting. And then once you receive the results, does this completely change the course of treatment moving forward? Do you think that it provides enough insight that what was assumed prior to the results of the test, that you could very well be on a very different trajectory?
Yeah, so I would say that it ultimately depends on how much you've already done for your child at that point, right? I think for us specifically, genetic testing provides critical information so your doctor can accurately monitor and treat your child. So, specifically to our child, with her diagnosis, we now know that she actually has an 80% chance of having seizures. And with that knowledge, we can actually keep a closer eye on things. So, we actually have 8 EEGs that we do every 6 months because of this.
Well, you just answered my next question, which was going to be the anticipatory development of a particular disease or developmental situation. So that is so fascinating to me. And finally, you did found a nonprofit. Tell us more about this organization.
Yes, I did. Earlier this year, I founded a nonprofit called the DAND Alliance with four other DAND moms, we call ourselves. And with the DAND Alliance, we're very much focused on raising awareness and scientific research in hopes to find a cure or treatment for DAND.
That's wonderful. Jacalyn Lee, thank you so much for sharing with us and joining us on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be back in 2 minutes.